Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. I am your host, Hiram, Roche, and here on this platform, we are men helping men redefine greatness through service. And I want to start this off and just say happy 4th of July. I know you have been enjoying your day, popping some fireworks, probably barbecuing, eating some good time, eating some good food and spending some good time with your family and your friends. But I'm thankful that you are here watching and listening today. And so we're going to dive right into our conversation because I believe that in the entry of season 7, I'm so excited about that. Entry of season 7, I think that we need to define and answer this question: what's greatness? And so today, what I want to be able to do is dive into this so that we can be able to have a starting introduction of this conversation, and then we'll continue it throughout this season so that we can have an understanding of what is greatness to us, what is supposed to be this concept of greatness. So if you're ready, I know that I'm ready. I need you to do me a favor before we start. You already know what I'm going to ask. Just share this. Be a great friend, be a great family member, and share this with at least one person, because I believe that this is going to be impactful and transformational, if that's a good word to use, for our lives, because I know it has already been transforming my life by living by this principle. So let's dive right into this context. So in Matthew chapter 23, verses 11, I'm going to read this. Matthew chapter 23, verses 11. This is what it says. It says, "But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant." I'm going to read that one more time and I'm going to explain. Don't click off, don't leave. I just need you to hear this. "But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant." Jesus allows us to be able to understand and see this not only through this passage of scripture, but through his life, a redefining context of what greatness is. You know, one of the things that I have realized over the years is that everybody is trying to become great. Everybody wants to emulate those that they feel that is great, those that they feel that are walking in this context of greatness, either that's in sports, either that's in entrepreneurial life, either that is in acting, whatever that might look like. Everyone is trying to emulate this context of greatness. And so I believe that we have in some form defined greatness as being the people that have made it. But what if I explain and show you that what greatness really is in its purest form is serving? Now, what we have emulated or seen in people that we believe is great or that we have called great are people that have done what we're going to talk about over these next couple sessions of conversation through this podcast series or season 7, is understanding these pieces of what they have worked in and worked on when we're talking about greatness. Now, one of the contexts of scripture that talks about greatness, it makes this statement that we should be a servant unto them all. Not just a few, but we should be a servant unto them all. So I want to be able to lay this context out, because what I believe and what I try my hardest to continue to function and live in is this context of what greatness is. So if greatness is serving, then it's not only who we serve, it's also going to be how we serve. And then we have to understand also why we are serving. So in these three contexts of things, the first person that I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of who we're supposed to be serving is we have to, yes, we're going to serve in our families. Yes, we're going to serve as a father. We're going to serve as a husband. We're going to serve as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, for those that might be watching. You're going to serve in various different areas and categories of your life. But I want to start off with this context, and I'm going to break each portion down as we continue to go on. But I want to drop in this thought process. You cannot be a great servant of them all until we have gained and strengthened this context of serving ourselves. One of the things or people that I thought about in preparation to this, I thought about, we think about like a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. We think about those and we consider them as being great. We consider them as being great men that achieved greatness in some form of fashion, in reference to specifically when it comes in reference to their skill set that we have acknowledged on the basketball court. We watch them be able to do, just knock out numbers, do different things that have now been historical for our lives. And so we see these things and we acknowledge and we say, man, these people are great. And they're so great that when anyone else comes into that field or into that arena, we compare if they are great or good enough based upon the greatness that we have seen or acknowledged in these two spectacular people. Now, one of the things that I realized is in both of their contexts of story, what we have acknowledged as being their greatness is a result of them serving themselves. Now, how can I say that? Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and a few others that we can name as being great, surely in the basketball world. I'm not really a big sports fan, so I'm not saying this like I'm a professional in this conversation, but I believe that this is so a great example that we can be able to see. Both of them in this skill set, one of the things that you will continue to hear is not what they did on the court, but it was the work that they were doing behind the scenes. I believe that the reason why we see these people as being great is because they were being great in their personal lives. Now, I know you're saying, man, that's some big shoes to start off with. I'm talking about Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. Well, let's talk about you. The way that I picture this context of being great is Jesus never said that the people were not great. No, he just said that the ones that are great we can read it again in a minute, but the ones that are great, even when it's another context of scripture that talks about who's greatest in the kingdom. And he brings this context of letting us know it's not that you don't have the potential to be able to be revealed as being great. No, you're already great. The context now is that we have to develop and sharpen the skill set of you being great. Your greatness is that you're a server. Now, I want to clarify this because somebody might be saying, listen, how can you say that I'm great? How can you say that I'm great? I'm not as big as such and such, and I'm not making as much as da 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 da. Whoever we can put into these contexts of conversations, but the reality of it is every single day you're serving somebody. The waiter, the waitress, when you go to a restaurant, they're serving you. When you go to a movie theater, when you are going to get a new car, when you are going to do whatever you do, there's always going to be someone in the room that is serving. And the reality in our personal lives that we also have to be able to see in this is that in our personal lives, you are serving day to day. What ends up happening, and this is what I've realized, is what ends up happening is my objective and my heart is in understanding this context that we're talking about right now is that I serve every single day. I serve my wife. I serve my sons. I serve every single day. The problem is not, do I serve? Again, that context already, according to what we just read, it shows us that we're already walking in this context of greatness. Where I want to make sure is that I'm an effective server. So the way that I can be an effective server is that means I have to sharpen the skill, that develop the thing, which is this context of self-care. I have to take care of me. I have to learn to serve me. That means sometimes I have to learn how to rest. That means sometimes I have to learn how to be able to deal with the weights of being a husband and being a father and being a leader. I have to learn how to deal with within me, how to serve myself in developing my mindset, having to serve myself in developing my own personal skill sets. These are things that I have to learn how to continue to do in serving me. So as I continue to develop and serve me and strengthen me and sharpen these skills, what then ends up happening is I am now revealed in my wife's life, in my son's life, in my friend's life, on my job, in different categories, in different areas of my life. Now what they see is they see the result of me serving me. So now I can serve you better. I can serve you well. And then it gets to a point where surely if you're in a business stand, if you are in a public forum, where now what they are seeing is they're seeing the greatness that you've started off serving in the beginning. So I believe this context so hard and I believe this so much that as I look at different people that we look at as high minded or high, these high forms of people and people that have reached some form of pinnacle in life. When we look at them, I look at them and I examine. I don't only examine what we see now that we applaud. We applaud Denzel Washington. We applaud all of these different great actors. We applaud all these entrepreneurs that we see that are killing the game and working and doing their thing. We applaud them because what? Now we are seeing the result, or we are now seeing the transparency or the openness of their greatness. They were not great when they got exposed. In reference to that, they didn't just become great when they got exposed. No, they were great behind the scenes. We just didn't see them until their skill set was sharp enough for them to be revealed. Like we can even mention and talk about someone that I personally I like his work ethic. I love his his certain mannerisms that he has. It's a combination of different things that I like about this man. But I like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is a person that I have seen that has become what we would consider great in our era and in our time. They have even stamped him as being one of the greatest comedians of our era. And so in understanding that, what I also understand is he was not considered great only because he got on the scene. No, he was working his work. He was developing himself. He was working on himself to get to this point. Now, does greatness mean, so we can clarify this, does me being great mean that I am perfect? No, it does not mean that. What it means, greatness means that I have learned to serve in a specific way, in a specific area, to a specific level, to where now people are seeing what I'm doing. They're seeing the result of that. The simplicity is Jesus did not say that they were the best servers. Let's read it again. Verses 11 of Matthew 23 and 11, it says, "But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant." He didn't say they were the greatest servants. No, those that are greatest among you, those that are great, they are the servants. They are the ones that are serving. And so when we are doing what we're doing, I want us to make sure that we start off with the main thing. The main thing is serving you, because reality is you're not going to be effective or as impactful if you are not serving you. Yeah, we can talk about in reference to when you get on the airplane, which I was just on an airplane not too long ago, and when I was on the plane, the statement that was constantly made was making sure that if anything happens and the little mask drops down, before you place it on anybody else, make sure that you place it on you, so that you can make sure that you have enough oxygen and all of those things to then be able to be successful in helping someone else. And what I have realized is that sometimes I have focused on serving everybody else. serving my wife, serving my children, serving on my job, serving in the ministry that I serve in. I serving with my friends and certain family members, and just serving and pouring and pouring and pouring. But what I realized is in doing that, then I feel the drain. I feel the times where I am tired, the times where I feel like I'm just emotionally worn out, the times where I feel frustrated and all of these different things. But I realized the reason why I was in that category and in that place was because I forgot to serve me. I forgot to take the moments and the time where I would be able to pour back into or develop and strengthen me. And sometimes, surely as a man, the responsibility of being a man is, I know you understand this, is being a man, sometimes you feel like you have to sacrifice yourself to be able to make sure that everything else is taken care of. And in some fact, that is true. But also the reality of being a man is understanding that you cannot help them right or help them well, help them effectively if you're not developing and taking the time to serve you. Now, again, we are servants in every industry and every level of business and anything that we do in life. We're serving in one capacity or another. But the reality of it is how do you want to serve? Do you want to serve mediocre? Do you want to serve because you don't have the energy and the strength to be able to do it? You give everything that you have, but then at the end of the day, you have nothing to give yourself. Now, what I'm saying in this statement is I'm not saying that this is a selfish mindset. No, it's a serving mindset. And sometimes we're not taught to do this first. Surely as sometimes as men, we're taught that only thing that we have to do is keep going. I know for me, I was kind of taught in the thought process and mindset by certain men in my life that, when it came in reference to taking care of you, it was almost like you did that last. You when it came in reference to certain situations, you just just deal with it and keep moving. Like don't take the time to deal with the problem, the emotional strain that you're feeling at the time. Don't take the time to per se deal with if you're feeling like you want to break down or you feel like you're about to cry. Just keep working. If you keep working, it'll be okay. And what I realized is that it was helping, or I was serving other people in that process, but one, I wasn't able to give my best. I realized that I was not able to give my best because, again, at the end of the day, I was not effectively serving me. So I'm serving you. I'm pouring all this out into this scenario, in this situation. I'm pouring out into my family. I'm pouring out in my relationships. I'm pouring out in all these other areas, but I'm not taking the time to serve me. Now, again, this is a major part of how or who we are serving. You are first having to serve you, but then you are then serving. Surely, if you are a husband or a boyfriend, you are serving in that relationship. Just say you might be laying like, Hiram, look, I ain't even got nobody, man. I'm just out here doing what I do. The reality of it is you're still serving somebody. So it might not be a spouse. It might not be a girlfriend. It might just be a friend that you have. It might just be your family. You are serving in some way. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how do we want to serve those that we serve? Do we want to serve them mediocre? Do we want to give them, don't give them the bare minimum? Or in serving them, do we want to make sure that we're serving them correctly? So how do we figure that out? How do we figure out if I'm serving you correctly? Understanding this is something that has helped me over the years, and that I have understood or seen as being something that has helped me. Surely in my marriage, surely also now looking at my sons, is understanding that there are different seasons in our lives. And so for me to be able to serve effectively, I have to realize the season that those that I'm serving are in. So, for example, me and my wife now, we have been married at this time over 16, looking at 16, 17 years of marriage. We have been together about 18 years. And in this time frame, I've realized that I cannot serve her the same way I did at year one. I can't. If I serve her the same way I did in the beginning of our relationship, it would not be effective. It would not be effective at all. Because why? My wife is not at the same place. She has developed, she has grown, she has learned some things, she has went through some things. So she has changed, and she is really not the same woman I married in the beginning because she has developed. And in that understanding, that means that I have to learn how to serve her based upon her season. Even when it comes to my sons, I can't serve them the same way I did when they were a baby. No, why? Because they're developing, they are maturing, they're growing, so their needs change. And in their needs changing, that means the way that I serve has to change. So not only for those that I am serving do I need to understand the season, but also when it comes to my own personal life, I have to understand the season that I'm in. And that means that in my personal life, that means within me, there's things that has changed and developed, which means there's a different way of how I serve myself. So it's a different way of how I serve me. It's a different way of how I serve my wife, a different way of how I serve my children. But now let's go to the next level. There's a different way that you serve your friends. Because again, your friends should be developing and changing over the seasons. And if they're in a different season in their life, the way that you serve them has changed. Now, if we're going to be great, which we are, if we're going to see the fulfillment and the beauty and the strength of that greatness, then that means we have to be on a constant understanding of the season of the people and the things that we're serving. Even when it comes in reference to your business life, you have to understand what season that your business is in. And based upon the season is based upon how you serve. In reference to when it comes in reference to if you're in ministry, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're serving and working in another company, all of them have seasons, and you have to realize and understand how to be effectively looking into these seasons and saying, okay, based upon that season, based upon where you are, based upon what's going on, how can I serve you? And in this mindset, in this thought process, this is how we're walking in our greatness. So again, you serving has already revealed that you're great. Now we're not dealing with, are you great? Now we're dealing with how effective is your greatness? Because again, if we are serving, or the greatest among us is the servant of all, is the one that's serving everyone, is serving in every area of our lives. I want to then make sure that how I serve is effective, because these are the ways and these are the things that we start to actually see. So for example, when you have, for example, again, I'll just use Michael Jordan as this example because I think a lot of people can understand this. Entry of his game, when he came into working or playing for the Chicago Bulls, he had a certain mindset of how he wanted to serve. He wanted to serve in the entry. If you went, and I love documentaries, so I watched his documentary that he did, or that he had. And in the entry of his serving, he had a mindset. And the mindset that he had was that he wanted to get the Chicago Bulls basically back on the map. He wanted to get them to get to that championship, get that first ring again, get that inspiration, that drive again back into Chicago. And that was the way that he served. Now, here's the reason why I say this, because this is what happens sometimes is we have a goal or a mindset or a thought process of, this is how I'm going to serve. After he achieved that first ring, he no longer had to make the Bulls relevant. because now they made it. Now they have achieved what he was trying to go after. So now, because of that thought process, in him personally developing and strengthening himself and understanding what he wanted, how he wanted to serve in the Chicago Bulls, he then had to change how he was going to serve in the next season. Because why? He already achieved the first one. So now he's no longer trying to get the first ring. No, what is he doing now? Now what he is doing is he's taking it to another space, in another season or another level in how he serves them. So now he's not only serving to make sure and pushing himself and giving everything he got on the court. No, but now he's serving his other teammates so that we all can be able to not only get another ring, but achieve and keep this consistency of being winners. So his serving changed. And so because of all of those different facets and all of those different things, I believe that he is a great example in almost a mirror in some sense of how us sometimes as men can feel, where we feel like we pour out every time we get on the court. We're pouring and pouring and working and pushing behind, beyond how we feel at times, and pushing beyond how things are going. And we push and push and push and push. But again, the most important piece is not that we reveal him now or see him now as being one of the greatest, but the most important part is we see how much he poured into him. And we see how in every season he was able to change and to shift how he served. So how we serve is so important. How we serve is trying to make sure that how we are serving is effective. Those things are important because why? Our greatness is revealed because, again, we're already great because we're serving. Our greatness is revealed in how we do what we do. So again, what's greatness? Greatness is serving. The focus on greatness context, how it all began, and the thought process behind it was focusing on serving. But the way that we serve has to be effective. So over the years, now being 3 years doing this, over the years, my objective and my thought process is let me help men to develop in different categories and areas of their lives. So let me help them in their relationships. Let me bring people to this platform that can help develop them in their thought process and mindset. Let me help bring people that can help develop them in how they serve when it comes in reference to their finances. Let me bring people to help them to serve, to deal with themselves, to show them that they can be okay with being emotional. Because if you do not express what you need to express, and if you suppress it, then majority of the time that's how we become depressed. We become depressed because we're not serving ourselves well by allowing ourselves to express where we are and how we feel and what we need to get out. And so it then reveals itself in a negative sense because we didn't start by serving us. And we were working so hard and pushing so hard and trying to make sure everything was protected and safe and secure and working the way it needed to. We were serving others, working in our greatness, but we were not serving ourselves. We were not serving ourselves, and we were not strengthening and developing the greatness that's within every single one of you. And that's the part that I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding, that before we end this year in 2022, I need us to have the mindset of understanding that I'm already great. You don't have to work to get there. No, you're already great. Now what you have to do is just sharpen this thing called your greatness. Work on, develop, and strengthen this thing called your greatness. So this is what I want you to do for me. And in every category of our lives, we have different categories that are, again, that I named. I mentioned talking about ourselves, talking about our relationships, talking about our business life, our friendship life, talking about all these different categories that we have in our lives. And all of them are vitally important to you. They're all important to you, just like they're important to me. But here's the thing that I want you to start off with. I want you to start by asking yourself a question. Where are you now? What season in your life are you in? What's the season that you're in now? How could you serve if you were asking somebody to be able to serve or to help you, to pour into the different areas of your life? How would you ask them to do that? Where? Where do you need those things? Where do you need to be poured into? What places do you want to be developed in? What things do you need to be strengthened in? What books do you need to read? What stuff do you need to watch? What things are you needing to be able to listen to? What things do you need to do that brings you peace? That allows you to be able to be open, to be free, to be in some form stress free in some areas of your life. How would you tell them to do that? And when you figure this out and see the season that you're in, then I want you to take the time to start working on you. I want you to take the time to serve you. Now, I know just like myself, we have a nice schedule, day-to-day schedule. And, if it's not work, it might be something else. If it's not this, it's that. And, you can continue to go back and forth in your schedule. And sometimes you feel like you don't have time for you. But I want you to try to set some time to serve you. A friend of mine asked me a question that I thought was very important. And sadly, being very honest, I really couldn't even answer. And he asked the question is, Hiram, what do you do for you? Like, what do you do that has nothing to do with work, has nothing to do with family, it has nothing to do with anything, it has nothing to do with the podcast, it has nothing to do with any of those kinds. What do you just do for you? What do you do that just makes you happy? But it doesn't cost you anything. It's not one of those things where it's like it's a sacrifice to make it work, or it's work in and of itself. Like, what do you do just to make you happy? What is that thing? And again, sadly for me, I at that point of time when we were talking, I could not give him an answer. Because why? I have been serving so much. I serve again in my family. I serve in the ministry. I serve in different areas of, serving on the podcast. It feels like I'm always sometimes constantly moving and constantly working. And I got to a personal point where it became draining and tiresome. And I saw myself getting frustrated and in some sense starting to get snappy. And, it was just all these different emotional pieces. And then I realized, again, just like I'm telling you now, I wasn't able to serve effectively because now the people that I'm supposed to be serving, I'm impacting negatively in some sense, because now I'm so drained that I'm irritated and I'm frustrated and I can't pay attention and hear what you're really saying, and to be able to really give you an effective answer or serve you well, or really not being able to spend that good quality time with my family and friends like I wanted to, or give real good quality into the podcast or into the ministry. Why? Because at the end of the day, I was so drained by serving everybody else that I found myself in a position, in a place where I felt like I had nothing else to give. But then I come to the understanding of realizing, based upon even this context of scripture and what we're going to look at throughout the rest of this season, is understanding that I wasn't taking the time to serve me. I wasn't taking the time to pour back into me. I wasn't taking the time to really help, take care of Hiram. And as a result of that, all of these other pieces was happening. Yes, I was having moments where I was just frustrated and angry and just could come off very rude and just all these different. I became distant. I'm a natural, quote unquote, natural introvert. So instead of reacting or whatever, normally I have trained myself over the years to just shut down. And so I would shut down in different areas. Again, that's not effective as being a servant. So now I'm not able to reveal, and you're not able to see the effectiveness of my greatness. So then I started to try to work on me, pour back into me, do something just for me. Again, it's nothing negative. It's not being selfish. It's the reality of that I have to be serving myself as well for me to be effective in serving you. Even when it comes to this podcast, I can't sit here and talk to y'all for the time and the length that I do, and trying to make sure that every Monday that something is here and talking to, meeting these different people and interviewing different people and having all these conversations, and all of that is great, but it won't be really effective. It can't hit the mark. It won't be able to reach you the way that it needs to if I don't take the time to take care of me. Because reality is, majority of the people that I'm talking to or meeting through these interviews and through these conversations that I'm bringing to the platform, I've never met these people before. And so when I'm bringing them, I need to make sure that I have the strength, the energy, the focus, and all of those things that I need to make sure that I serve you well, to gain the great conversations that will help you to live the great life that you need to, and that I will want for your own life, that I want for you. And the reality is I can't do this job well. I can't serve you well here if I'm not serving me. So I want you to take the time, I really, really do, to start with you. We're going to talk about the family. We're going to talk about the different areas and different things and all of those pieces, which is important. But it's not, we can't start with what you're serving externally, who you're serving externally. We can't start with that. We have to start with you, because at the end of the day, if the foundation is not secure, then whatever you try to build on top of it eventually will crumble. And I think that sometimes, not just relationships, but different areas and different things that don't work, sometimes it does not work, not because it couldn't work. It's because the foundation, the thing that you were building it upon, was not strong enough, because you wasn't pouring into you. You wasn't serving yourself. And that's what I need us to start with. You are already great. You're already walking in your greatness. Now I just want us all together, collectively, to just sharpen it. Let's get it to a point to where we are serving effectively. Business people do this all the time. They are making sure that they're developing and strengthening and sharpening that skill, so that when they are bringing you and serving you a product, it's effective. It's so much effective that you're willing to pay for it. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. Again, I hope and know that this conversation is impactful into your life. And I pray that you already share this with someone so that they can understand and know what's greatness, and understand that they are already great. So make sure that you're with me every Monday right here. And we're going to continue this conversation throughout this season, because we want to walk in our greatness. I love you all, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Continue to be great. Thank you all for watching this video. My heart is, and that I don't do this for myself. I make sure that I am doing this for you, to bring you the tools that you need so you can walk in your greatness. So continue with me every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, as well as you can make sure that you listen to me on all podcast platforms. And let's continue to grow this greatness tribe.